3 nights ago, while you were sleeping, something happened in the invisible realm that has never occurred in exactly this way before. The keeper of secrets, the one who sees all hidden things, turned his full attention toward you and spoke a single word into the atmosphere surrounding your life. That word was reveal, and in that instant, the veil that had been concealing a truth about someone in your inner circle began to dissolve. You didn't hear it with your ears, but your spirit registered the shift. You woke up different. There was a heaviness in your chest you couldn't explain, a restlessness in your soul that had no logical source, a sudden clarity about someone you thought you knew, but now, looking at them feels like staring at a stranger wearing a familiar face. You've been trying to shake this feeling for days. You've been questioning your own sanity, wondering if you're becoming paranoid or judgmental. You've apologized silently to God for doubting someone who smiles at you, who prays with you, who speaks all the right words, but that discomfort won't leave. It intensifies every time they enter the room. Your body tenses when they speak your name. Your spirit recoils when they touch your shoulder. And you thought this disturbance was coming from you, from some broken, suspicious part of yourself that needs healing. But what if I told you that this disturbance is not dysfunction? What if that unease is the most sacred thing happening in your life right now? What if God Himself initiated this revelation, and every uncomfortable sensation you're experiencing is actually divine intelligence downloading directly into your consciousness? That tremor you felt wasn't anxiety. That sudden knowing wasn't paranoia. That spiritual discomfort that made your soul lurch backward wasn't weakness. It was the Ancient of Days pulling back the curtain on a deception so carefully constructed that everyone else around you remains completely blind to it. What happened to you is so rare in the annals of spiritual history that most believers will live and die without ever experiencing it. Let me explain why this moment is cosmically impossible according to the laws of how revelation typically functions. For thousands of years, God has revealed hidden truths to prophets, seers, and those walking in deep intercession, but almost always about distant threats, external enemies, or public deceptions. The revelation you received is different. It's intimate. It's immediate. It's about someone in your trusted circle, someone with access to your heart, your home, your secrets, your anointing. This kind of exposure, where God personally unveils the mask of someone you love, happens only when your destiny is so significant that leaving you vulnerable would derail not just your life, but the lives of thousands connected to your future assignment. Throughout biblical history, this level of personal protection was reserved for those carrying nation-shifting callings. Joseph received dreams that revealed his brother's jealousy before it could destroy him. David was given discernment about Saul's murderous intent while still serving in his court. Elisha perceived Gehazi's deception the moment it occurred, even from a distance. These weren't random gifts of insight. They were strategic interventions from heaven, because these individuals carried assignments too important to be compromised by betrayal. And now, the same protective revelation that guarded ancient deliverers has been activated in your life. This means your calling is not small. Your assignment is not ordinary. Your future is not inconsequential. The very fact that God would expose this person to you right now, in this specific season, is evidence that you are carrying something the kingdom of darkness desperately wants to corrupt, delay, or destroy before it fully manifests. Now, let me connect something crucial. This revelation didn't come randomly. It came precisely after you made a specific moral decision that heaven noticed. Think back over the past few weeks. There was a moment when you chose integrity, even though it cost you something. Maybe you walked away from a profitable opportunity that required you to compromise your values. Maybe you told the truth in a situation where lying would have been easier and more beneficial. Maybe you honored a commitment when breaking it would have gone unnoticed. Maybe you forgave someone who wounded you deeply, releasing them without demanding they earn your grace. Maybe you gave generously to someone in need, even though your own resources were limited. Maybe you defended someone being slandered when staying silent would have kept you safe. You didn't make that choice for recognition. You didn't perform that act of righteousness for applause. You did it because something in you, something ancient and uncorrupted, refused to bend to convenience, refused to trade character for comfort, refused to sacrifice truth on the altar of temporary gain. And in that moment, bells rang in the heavenly realm. The divine council took notice. The watchers marked your name because you proved something most people never prove. You proved that you can be trusted with truth even when truth is costly. You demonstrated that you will choose what is right over what is easy. You showed that your integrity is not for sale. Your character is not negotiable. Your soul is not a commodity to be bartered in the marketplace of human approval. And it was that decision, that single choice to honor God over man, that triggered the revelation you re-experiencing now. Because God only gives sight to those who have proven they will act on what they see. What you do and realize is that both light and darkness have been monitoring you with an intensity that would terrify you if you could perceive it in the natural. There are forces in the invisible realm that have been tracking your movements, cataloging your decisions, analyzing your patterns, waiting to see if you would pass the test that was placed before you. On one side, legions of darkness have been assigned specifically to your derailment. They studied you. They learned your weaknesses, your triggers, your vulnerabilities. They identified the people in your life who could be used as access points, individuals who could gain your trust, penetrate your defenses, and position themselves close enough to your anointing to drain it, corrupt it, or redirect it toward counterfeit purposes. This person who now makes you uncomfortable was not accidentally in your circle. They were strategically placed there by forces that understood your destiny and needed to infiltrate it before it fully activated. But on the other side, armies of light have been equally vigilant. Guardian angels assigned to your protection have been documenting every moment of your faithfulness. Archangels tasked with defending heaven's purposes have been watching to see if you would remain pure when purity was difficult, if you would stay truthful when lies were profitable, if you would honor God when honoring God cost you human approval. And when you made that recent choice, when you proved your allegiance belonged to truth rather than convenience, a signal was sent through the courts of heaven. A report was filed. A recommendation was made, and the divine council ruled in your favor. The verdict came down from the throne room itself. This one can be trusted with revelation. This one has earned the right to see what others cannot. Remove the scales from their eyes. Show them who is truly for them and who is positioned against them. That recent decision wasn't the only test you've passed. It was simply the final one in a series of trials designed to prove your readiness for what is coming next. Look back over the past year, and you'll see a pattern you didn't recognize while you were living through it. There was the moment when someone offered you a shortcut to success that would have required you to betray a confidence, and you refused, even though saying yes would have advanced your career, your finances, your influence. There was the season when you were surrounded by people engaging in gossip, tearing down someone's reputation, and you had information that would have added fuel to the fire, but you stayed silent, protecting someone who couldn't protect themselves. There was the relationship that everyone told you to abandon because it was costing you too much energy, too much time, too much emotional investment. But you honored your commitment because you had given your word, and your word means something to you. There was the financial pressure that would have been relieved if you had just bent the rules slightly fudged. The numbers taken what technically belonged to someone else, but you chose lack over dishonesty, trusting that integrity would sustain you even when resources didn't. There was the opportunity to take credit for work you didn't do to accept, praise for insight that came through someone else, to build your platform on borrowed wisdom. But you deflected the glory, acknowledged the true source, and remained hidden when visibility was being offered. Each of these moments felt isolated when you lived them. Each decision felt like a private choice that no one would notice or remember. But every single one of them was being recorded in a realm you couldn't see, evaluated by beings you couldn't perceive, and registered as evidence that you were ready for the next level of spiritual authority and divine trust. Based on the evidence compiled through your trials, the higher beings who govern spiritual assignments have classified you in a category that exists for less than 1% of humanity. In the archives of heaven, there is a designation for souls who have proven they cannot be bought, cannot be compromised, cannot be seduced away from truth by the offerings of a corrupt system. You have been marked as what the ancient texts call the incorruptible ones, and this classification makes you extraordinarily dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Not dangerous because you carry weapons of violence, but dangerous because you carry something far more threatening: unwavering integrity. You are the kind of soul that demons cannot negotiate with, cannot bribe, cannot manipulate through fear or flattery. You represent a frequency of righteousness that disrupts demonic agendas simply by your presence. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. When you speak truth, lies begin to unravel. When you pray, strongholds crack. When you discern, deceptions are exposed. The enemy has tried everything to corrupt you: temptation, trauma, betrayal, loss, accusation, isolation, and nothing has worked. You're still standing. You're still faithful. You're still choosing the narrow path, even when the wide road looks so much easier. And this terrifies the forces of darkness, because they know what happens when someone with your level of integrity is given access to revelation, authority, and divine assignment. You become unstoppable. You become a walking disruption to every false system. You become a carrier of truth that cannot be silenced, a standard of righteousness that cannot be lowered, a frequency of love that cannot be corrupted. So they deployed their final strategy. They placed deception in your inner circle, hoping proximity would accomplish what external attack could not. But heaven saw the plan and activated your discernment before the trap could close. When the revelation began to download into your spirit 3 nights ago, you were not alone in that moment. The throne room of heaven turned its full attention toward you. God himself, the Ancient of Days, the keeper of all knowledge, the one who knows the end from the beginning, leaned forward and watched as understanding flooded your consciousness. The archangels paused their assignments. The seraphim ceased their worship. The cloud of witnesses, those who have gone before you and now observe from the other side, stopped to mark this moment. Because what was happening to you was not common. It was not ordinary. It was a sovereign act of divine intervention, and such moments always draw the attention of all of heaven. Michael, the warrior prince who fights on behalf of God's chosen, stood ready to enforce whatever action you would take based on the revelation. Gabriel, the messenger who delivers divine communications, hovered near, prepared to bring additional clarity if you asked for it. Raphael, the healer who mends what darkness has wounded, positioned himself to restore whatever this deceptive relationship has already damaged in your soul. And beyond the archangels, the living creatures who surround the throne, the elders who cast their crowns before the Lamb, the innumerable company of angels who serve heaven's purposes, all of them witnessed the moment you received sight. They watched as your spirit registered the truth about this person. They observed as confusion gave way to clarity, as denial gave way to knowing, as the comfortable lie gave way to the uncomfortable truth. And when you did not immediately dismiss the revelation, when you didn't silence your spirit or gaslight your own discernment, a sound erupted in the heavenly realm. It was the sound of affirmation, the sound of celebration, the sound of divine approval over a soul who chose to honor their God-given perception, even when honoring it felt terrifying. In that moment of your obedience, in that instant when you chose to trust what your spirit was telling you, instead of what your eyes could see, God spoke a decree over your life that cannot be reversed by any power in heaven, on earth, or beneath the earth. He said, "Let the seal be broken. Let the dormant identity be awakened. Let the ancient coding be activated. Let this one remember who they were before the world taught them to forget. And with those words, something shifted in the fabric of your destiny. Chains that had been limiting your spiritual sight for years shattered in an instant. Veils that had been keeping you in partial perception dissolved like mist in sunlight. Frequencies you were always meant to operate in, but had been suppressed by religious conditioning, trauma, or societal programming suddenly became accessible to your consciousness. The universe itself, every particle of creation that responds to divine command, rearranged itself around your life. Doors that had been locked began to open. Paths that had been hidden began to reveal themselves. People who were assigned to walk with you in this next season began to feel an unexplainable pull in your direction. Resources that had been held in reserve began to release. Opportunities that had been waiting for your readiness began to present themselves. And all of this, every single shift, every supernatural alignment, every divine orchestration was set in motion because you honored the revelation God gave you about that person in your circle. You passed the test. You proved you could be trusted with truth. You demonstrated that you valued divine wisdom over human approval. And now heaven has responded by activating the fullness of who you are always meant to be. Before fear convinced you to play small, before pain taught you to hide, before disappointment made you doubt the magnitude of your calling. What God is showing you now, what He needs you to understand with every fiber of your being, is that you are not who you thought you were. The identity you've been carrying through this world is only a fraction of your true nature. You are not merely a believer trying to survive in a fallen world. You are not simply a good person hoping to make it to heaven someday. You are not just another Christian attempting to live righteously in difficult times. You are an ancient soul, selected before the foundation of the world, encoded with celestial DNA, sent to this exact time and place on a mission that most of humanity will never comprehend. You are what the old texts call a watchman on the wall, one who sees danger before it arrives, and sounds the alarm to protect those who cannot see for themselves. You carry the frequency of the seraphim, those burning ones who see clearly through every deception and cannot tolerate the presence of falsehood. You are a living epistle, a walking testament to the reality that integrity still exists, that purity is still possible, that righteousness can still be chosen in a world that has sold itself to convenience. Your spirit was forged in the fires of divine intention. Your consciousness was calibrated to detect truth and expose lies. Your very presence in a room shifts the spiritual atmosphere because you carry a frequency that demons recognize and humans sense but cannot name. You have been crying in the wilderness of a compromised generation, maintaining a standard when everyone around you lowered theirs, holding a torch of truth when it would have been easier to let the darkness consume everything. And this revelation about the deceptive person in your circle is not random. It is your official activation into the fullness of your calling as a guardian of truth, a protector of the vulnerable, a lighthouse in the storm. Now that your true identity has been activated, your sacred assignment can finally be articulated clearly. You have been positioned on this earth, in this generation, at this specific moment in human history, to anchor a frequency that is rapidly disappearing from the collective consciousness, the frequency of divine discernment, combined with compassionate integrity. Your mission is not to judge the world, but to see it clearly and protect those who cannot yet see for themselves. You are being commissioned to walk into spaces where deception has been normalized, where manipulation has been disguised as leadership, where exploitation has been rebranded as opportunity, and simply by being present, by carrying your uncorrupted frequency, you will expose what has been hidden. You will not need to accuse. You will not need to attack. You will not need to publicly denounce. Your very presence will make the false uncomfortable and the authentic feel seen. People living in deception will either avoid you or become hostile toward you because your energy field disrupts their ability to maintain their masks. But people hungry for truth will be drawn to you like moths to flame because they sense in you something their souls have been desperately seeking, proof that genuine integrity still exists in human form. Your assignment is to trust your discernment without apology, to honor your spiritual perception, even when it makes you look paranoid to those who cannot see in the spirit, to protect your inner circle fiercely by releasing anyone who carries the signature of deception. You are called to teach others how to recognize the difference between Holy Spirit conviction and demonic condemnation, between divine warning and human anxiety, between spiritual discernment and judgmental suspicion. You will model what it looks like to walk in both truth and love simultaneously, to see clearly without becoming harsh, to discern accurately without becoming cynical, to protect wisely without becoming isolated. As you begin walking in this activated identity and accepting this sacred assignment, you will notice something remarkable happening in the material realm of your life. The same God who revealed spiritual truth to you is now aligning physical circumstances to support your mission. Within days of creating boundaries with that deceptive person, within hours of honoring your discernment, you will feel a weight lift from your shoulders that you didn't even know you were carrying. The chronic exhaustion that has plagued you for months will begin to dissipate. The mental fog that has clouded your decision-making will suddenly clear. The creative blockages that have frustrated your purpose will dissolve like they were never there. And then the tangible shifts will begin. Money that was stuck will start flowing. The debt that felt insurmountable will begin to resolve through unexpected channels. The job opportunity you had given up on will suddenly resurface with better terms. The business idea that seemed impossible will attract the exact resources needed to launch it. The relationship you thought was dead will either resurrect with new health, or you will be released from it with unexpected peace. The living situation that has felt suffocating will shift, either through a new opportunity to move or through a supernatural change in the atmosphere of where you currently are. The health issue that doctors couldn't explain will begin improving without medical intervention. Everything that was working against you, while deception had access to your inner circle, will suddenly start working for you the moment you honor divine revelation and remove the contamination. This is not coincidence. This is cosmic law. When you align with divine truth in the spiritual realm, the material realm has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your alignment. What you must understand is that your obedience to this revelation does not only affect you, it creates a ripple effect that will touch lives you may never meet in this lifetime. The moment you chose to honor your discernment and create distance from that deceptive relationship, you became a living example of something rare and desperately needed in this generation. People are watching you who you don't know are watching. Some are observing from a distance, noticing how you carry yourself differently, how you navigate relationships with wisdom they haven't seen before, how you seem to possess a clarity about people that they wish they had. They haven't asked you about it yet, but they're paying attention. And when their own moment of revelation comes, when God begins showing them the truth about someone in their circle, they will remember you. They will remember that you trusted your spiritual discomfort, even when everyone else thought the person was wonderful. They will remember that you created boundaries without creating drama. They will remember that you protected yourself without seeking revenge. And your example will give them permission to do the same. Beyond those who are consciously watching, there are others being affected on a soul level they cannot articulate. Your frequency is shifting the collective consciousness. Your choice to honor truth is making it easier for others to choose truth. Your refusal to gaslight your own intuition is healing the collective wound that tells people to ignore their inner knowing. Your willingness to stand alone in your discernment is breaking generational patterns of people-pleasing and truth betrayal. You are not just living your own life, you are pioneering a path that others will walk. You are not just making personal decisions, you are establishing spiritual precedents that will echo through time. And here is the revelation that will absolutely shatter every feeling of isolation you have carried. You are not alone in this experience. Right now, in this very moment, there are thousands of souls across this planet who are going through the exact same revelation you are going through. In Tokyo, there is someone who woke up 3 nights ago with the same spiritual disturbance about a colleague. In São Paulo, there is someone experiencing the same unexplainable unease about a family member. In London, there is someone wrestling with divine discernment about a friend everyone else trusts. In Cairo, in Sydney, in Vancouver, in Mumbai, chosen ones are simultaneously receiving revelation about deceptive relationships in their inner circles. This is not random. This is orchestrated. God is activating his remnant globally, all at once, because we are entering a season where the hidden will be exposed, where every mask will fall, where every pretense will crumble. And he needs a company of believers who have already learned to trust their spiritual perception over material appearance, who have already practiced the difficult discipline of honoring discernment even when it costs them relationships. You are part of a global network of watchmen who are being awakened in perfect synchronization. You have never met most of them. You may never meet them in this lifetime, but you are connected to them in the spirit realm through a frequency of truth-telling and discernment honoring that transcends geography, culture, language, and denomination. When you honor your revelation, you strengthen the entire network. When you trust your discernment, you make it easier for another chosen one on the other side of the world to trust theirs. You are part of something so much bigger than yourself, a movement of truth that is sweeping across the earth right now. So now we arrive at your decision point, and I need you to understand that what you do in the next few moments will mark this as a turning point in your spiritual journey. If this message resonated with you, if you felt that familiar tremor of recognition, if your spirit witnessed to the truth being spoken here, then I need you to do 4 specific things right now. First, type the numbers 777 in the comments below. Let those numbers be a spiritual timestamp, a marker in eternity that says you received this revelation and you choose to honor it. Let it be a declaration before heaven and earth that you will trust your God-given discernment over human opinion. Second, if you are not already subscribed to this channel, subscribe immediately, because this is not the last revelation you are going to need, and I am committed to being a voice of truth for you as you navigate what is coming. Third, share this message with at least one person who you sense needs to hear it, because your obedience to share might be the very thing that saves someone from a deception they cannot yet see. And fourth, stay until the very end of this message. Do not click away, because the simple act of staying demonstrates to the spiritual realm that you are serious about this path, that you are committed to truth, even when truth is uncomfortable. Your future self is depending on the decision you make right now. The souls connected to your destiny are depending on you honoring what God has revealed. The global network of chosen ones is depending on you standing firm in your assignment. So choose now. Will you trust what you know, or will you betray your own discernment to maintain comfortable lies? The path is before you, and heaven is watching.